Welcome to Season 2, Episode 37 of the Bulls REKAP Podcast. I'm Joe Colley of the Chicago Sun-Times. You can obviously find my work in the Sun-Times sports section. You can follow me on Twitter, whatever you call it, X, at jcolleyhoops. Before we get into any Bulls stuff, and there's a lot of Bulls news, want to talk about Stacey King real quick. I think it's well-known Stacey and I didn't have the greatest relationship. We had some Twitter spats. That's all basketball stuff. There's a human element. I know how much Stacey meant to a lot of people that I do care about. Adam Amin and I have a really good relationship. Casey Johnson and I have a really good relationship. Mr. Funk and I have had a really good relationship. Some of his former teammates. Bulls public relations. I know how beloved Stacey was and how important he was to the Bulls fan base. Voices like that, when you lose those voices, you lose a piece of whether it's your childhood growing up with Stacey King and listening to him, whether it's your adulthood. And I don't think people really understand the relationship between broadcaster and fan base all the time, especially if you don't have one that's a memorable guy. I grew up in Cleveland. Joe Tate was a huge voice for the Cavs. So you grew up with that voice. You grew up with that presence. That's what Stacey King was. He was a huge voice, huge personality. And again, our Twitter spats, our little mini feud or whatever you want to call it is stupid basketball stuff that has nothing to do with being a human being. So, rest in peace, Stacey King. Condolences to his family. Huge loss. The thing was, as I wrote in the Sun-Times, the thing that kind of sits with me and resonates with me is Stacey would have loved this upcoming season because I just have a feeling, he sat through the last decade of just darkness and a lot of storm clouds and dark moments. And now that things are finally feeling like they're moving in a positive direction, and it could be a slow burn, but whether it's Caleb Wilson, Boozer, whoever they get with number 4, and then whoever they get with number 15, he would have had the nicknames ready. And I think he really would have enjoyed this kind of rebuild and this kind of rebirth of an organization that he really cared about. So to me, that's like the sad thing is I know he would have loved to see what this thing looks like and how this thing moves forward. And, hopefully he's watching from a different seat. So beat, big man. All right, let's get into the big news, the coaching search. It's been reported the entire time that this was going to be a slow burn. I don't know why people are all kind of over anxious about this thing. You want a guy in place come draft. There will be a guy in place come draft time. The draft's, I think, the 23rd, 24th of June, something like that. 23rd is the first night. It's a 2-night thing, obviously. I expect a coach to be in place by next week. This point next week. Today is Thursday, June 11th. There will very likely be a coach in place by then or about to be named. What it looks like right now, let's go over the 4 names that are being talked about. Wes Unseld Jr., assistant coach, former head coach. I know he is not the thing that makes you want to run through a wall if you're a Bulls fan right now. It was not just some kind of interview done as a favor. They really do kind of covet his player development and his mindset. So this was not some just, he's in the building, let's talk to him. He's a finalist. I don't think he will be the finalist. I could be wrong. I would be surprised if it's Wes Unseld Jr. I just think that they like a lot of things he's going to say, that he's said, a lot of things he brings to the table. And here's the key thing. He's been a head coach before. He's not a disruptor. He's not a scumbag trying to put a knife in the back of the head coach. He's not a Jim Boylan. He's not a Kenny Atkinson. He's not an operator. So it's almost like they interviewed him for the head coaching job, But the hope is if it's not him, that he still wants to stay in the building, still wants to sit next to the head coach that they name and be kind of that lead assistant. I think that's kind of their game plan and their hope. And, we'll see. Micah Nori, name's been out there for a long time. He was the name that I threw out there before they even had a front office in place. Baseball background, comes from a baseball background, but he's just a coach. He's one of those guys, you just give him a sport and he's going to coach it because he's a great communicator. That is his reputation. Unbelievable communicator, kind of funny, has just a way of talking to guys, good sense of humor. Think he'll be great with the media. Good talent developer from what the Minnesota people told me when I was up there last month and talking to Io during their early playoff run. So, I mean, GMs have voted him best assistant in the business, last year or 2 years ago. So he's got a really good reputation, comes from a good tree with Finch as his latest guy. When Finch got hurt in that goofy playoff sideline collision, Nori took over, did a really good job. So there's a lot of things to like about him, and I think Bulls fans will really like the way he looks at things, his communication, his sense of humor. Ryan Schmidt from Atlanta. Obviously, Bryson Graham has a good feel of him because they were in that building together. His strength is player development. He's supposed to be really good with developing players. And if you look at some of the young guys that have taken a leap, and they've moved on from Trae Young and let these new guys kind of step up, so obviously Bryson Graham knows him better than us or the league, and there's something there. We'll see. The guy I really like, Tiago Splitter. I've talked about him before. Not just because there's a recent sample size as a head coach and a hell of a job, but you saw a dude that probably got handed one of the toughest fixer-uppers in the last couple of years because there was a gambling scandal with the head coach, Chauncey Billups. I mean, Chauncey was arrested. And they're saying, all right, you're next up. NBA champion with the Spurs 2000. Let's see, was he on that 14 team? I was covering the finals for like 3-4 years in a row. He was on one of those that beat the Heatles. Not only what he did in taking over from Chauncey, but at the end of the year, must-win games before even, to hold that play-in spot. Then in the play-in, must-win game, beating, I think it was Phoenix, and getting in the playoffs. And everyone knew they had no chance. What he did with Denny Advija, I mean, to me, that's development. So there's just a lot of things to like about him. He's supposed to be a good talker. From what I was told, all four guys are really good communicators, and that's key in this. Collaborative communication guys. They're all have good reputations with player development. So, look, I mean, I don't really have a horse in this race. I'm going to have to work with this guy on a daily basis once the season starts, and you're not going to replace Billy Donovan. I've been fortunate enough to cover two of the better communicators with the media. Ozzie Guillen, when I covered the White Sox and that World Championship run, and Billy Donovan. Very different in their approach with the media, but unbelievable as far as giving their time to the media. Tibbs was great with the media, but in a completely different way. Tibbs, you had to ask him a well thought out question to get a well thought out answer. I mean, that's just how he is. Otherwise he's going to give you a yes and no and give you a smirk. And Tibbs keeps things close to the vest. Billy Donovan and Ozzie Guillen were phenomenal as far as it was to the point where both PR staffs were like, yeah, you probably can't give all that information out. They went beyond. Quick story about Ozzie. I don't know if I've told this before, but his first year on the job, and this will never happen again with any beat group and the manager / coach they're covering. It will never happen again. Trust me. His first year with the White Sox, full players, pitchers had been in camp. all the position players come in. So it's the first full meeting. He has us beat writers come out and to their big circle down. They're still in Tucson. And he's like, all right, just so you guys know, these are the 4 beat writers. There were 4 beat writers at the time, maybe 5. Mark Gonzalez from the Tribune, Joe Colley, I was at the Daily Southtown at the time, Doug Padilla for the Sun-Times, Scott Greger for the Daily Herald. Merkin may have been at MLB.com. I don't remember. Merck's been around so long. But anyway, he said, these 4 or 5 guys, if you disrespect them, you disrespect me. If you won't talk to them because you had a bad game, you're going to have a problem with me. They're to be treated just like you treat me. I mean, and then he told us, get the F out of here. and it was tested early on. I remember, I think it was Podsednik was kind of hiding in the shower, and Ozzie went in because he understood we had deadlines. He went in the shower and said, Podsednik, you played a shitty game. Get out here and talk to the media right now. Don't hide in here. I mean, phenomenal. Billy Donovan, there was only one Ozzie Guillen, but Billy Donovan was great with us because he had to answer questions that were beyond his pay grade, and he still did it. So I'll never forget the Billy Donovan experience and just how good he was with us, the media, how honest he tried to be. And from this list and what we've been told, all 4 of these guys are really good communicators. So I don't have like a favorite because this guy's better with the media. That's not how it works. I want a good coach in place because I think this product is starting to take off, and I want someone that could help kind of guide that. So if I had to pick, if I did have a horse in the race, because of what Tiago Splitter did with Portland and a bad ownership group and just so many bad obstacles in front of him, I know that we've got a guy in him that when, the fire comes and the obstacles are thrown in your way, I feel like he can coach around that and coach over that kind of stuff just because there's a sample size. So, we'll see. There will be a coach in place, I'm guessing, within the next week. This has kind of always been the plan. It was going to be build the front office out, wide net over the coaching search. I mean, it was wide. There were so many Zoom calls and stuff like that done with guys. And look, and here's what people don't understand. Just because you're talking to all these guys doesn't mean they're serious candidates right now. This coach Bryson Graham hires might not work out. He may have to fire this guy. So you know what? You talk to as many people as possible so you've got in your mind that next guy, that next guy, that next guy. So, which brings me to the draft stuff. Bulls fans, you have 2 first-round picks. Stop trying to trade them. Stop. You stay in the top 4. If you can bump up to 3, what's the price to do that? And if the price is not worth it, I'm not doing it. I don't care. To me, Boozer might end up being the best of the 4. Peterson might end up being the best of the 4. I know that those 4 guys, A.J. DeBonsa, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, and obviously Caleb Wilson, I know that those 4 guys are really, really close. There's not a huge gap. So just sit there and let those other 3 teams decide. If you really love one of them and you can give second round, because you have all kind of second round picks, to flip one spot, whether it's Memphis maybe says we're looking, which they won't because they're going to have their guy at 3. Just relax. And this 15th pick, from what I've been told, the only way they would move up in this 15th pick is a spot or 2. Whether it's Charlotte, Miami, whatever it is that's in that 13, 14 range, it would be just, hey, we really like this guy and we know you like Yaxel or you like Mara, and we won't pick him. Let's flip and we'll give you 2 seconds. It would be small. It would be a small jump because maybe one of the guards kind of fall because there is a huge guard class. The fact that they've brought Kingston Flemings in, Darius Acuff in, Mikal Brown Jr. in, Wagler in, I don't know if they brought Burries in. I mean, the fact that they brought all these guards in, again, doesn't mean that they're looking to move up because all these guards are projected to go before 15. What if one of them slides or a couple other guys jump and one of them come down to 15, whether it's Flemings, whoever it is? But the other thing, too, you have to recall, or remember, just like with the coaches, you're also learning what these guys are about. 3-4 years, they go to, say if Acuff goes to Sacramento and it's a terrible experience because it's a terrible system for him to be in. There's no frontline defense behind him. He's hunted. He's exposed because of his defensive issues. We had him in the building. We talked to him. We worked him out. We know his personality. We know what he's about. He's a restricted free agent, and they don't want to bid on him. We do, because we feel like we have the front line that he wants because we drafted Jaden Quittens and Caleb Wilson in this draft class. So you're using this time to learn what these guys are about, and it's not just because you might take them now. You never know what's going to happen down the road. So everyone's just got to relax with this whole – I mean, you were gifted 2 picks in a draft class that is loaded. You missed the window on 25, but, you have 2 picks. And if you think about it, with number, I think it's 38 in the second round, as deep as this draft class is, I mean, you might get a rotation guy in the second round. So everybody wants to not everybody, but a lot of people want to just move around and do this, and we want this guy. You're going to get 2 guys that, to me, one that has a chance to be really special and another guy that could be a dude, a piece, a really good piece as you build this thing towards a playoff team. So just because these guys are all being listed doesn't mean they're all being picked by the Bulls. So relax. All right, let's go to Collie Island. NBA Finals have been fantastic. I mean, you talk about just fun. It'd be nice if the post-game stuff was a little bit better as far as destroying your own city, but whatever. But after 2 games, I think I know why this happens. I think there's so many like stat nerds and guys on the outside that just they don't talk to like the players, or they're just not in kind of the foxhole. So Karl Anthony Towns to them, the Pussycat, is like this, and he's, by all accounts, super nice guy. He's not a foxhole guy. He's a beta, and that's fine. But maybe that's what brings people to him that are stat nerds and kind of, they don't like the in-your-face guys, which for Bulls fans like to be embracing Karl Anthony Towns after having a alpha like Michael Jordan and a statue is mind-boggling, but okay, it's generational. I don't know what it is, but people like the Pussycat. I get it. Congratulations. Because people were giving him the NBA Finals MVP after 2 games, even though in that second game, the biggest play of the game, the Wemby missed shot at the end to win it, Karl Anthony Towns was waving a towel on the bench because your NBA Finals MVP is not good enough to be on the floor in a key defensive moment. Instead, you're going to put a rotation guy who had hand surgery a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't even know if he'd be able to play. That's the guy that you put on Wemby at the end of games, even though Towns is, by all accounts, close to 7 foot. He's he rebounds, but you just can't put him out there in key moments. But that's your Finals MVP. Okay. Because I know Jordan, and I know guys like Steph Curry, who wasn't the greatest defensive player, and I know guys like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. I'm just trying to think of Kevin Durant. I'm trying to think of other MVP and NBA MVPs. Jaylen Brown. You can't have them on the floor in the final moments of games because they're just not good enough. Check that history. And then what happens? Game 3, Wemby destroys him. He disappears. Game 4, gets in huge foul trouble, which is his history. And it's almost like it's a history of, in key games and key moments, he almost fouls his way so he doesn't have to be in that gunfire. That's what it feels like to me. When you look at his history in Minnesota, they had to go get Gobert because Cat didn't want to be a big. He wants to be a 2 guard. So they had to go get Gobert and a bad contract and take that on. And, now they're kind of stuck with it and they'd like to move on from it, but you can't. But again, they had to go get Gobert because Cat refuses to play to his size. but yet the nerds want to talk about just what a great shooter he is. Congratulations. He got his first points in the fourth quarter in game 4. He had 6 points. He actually was on the floor for the final play. He guarded the inbounder because of his size. He didn't guard Wemby, the guy they were most scared about. He guarded the inbounder. So, yeah, that's, but his plus minus is really good because at the end when you're holding up a trophy, they hand out a little plus minus trophy. It's just small, and they give it to you. And Pussycat's all about that. So, hey, I'm all for it. He looks like the finals MVP, even though he hasn't been involved in any key moments late in games, and these games have all been really close. OG, he hasn't done anything. Brunson hasn't done anything. I'd say it's Cat. I'd say that's a good call. So, Betas, your guy's coming. His award's coming. Let's get to the list. I've done a lot of thinking about this 25, 26 draft class. There's been a lot of talk about, this class is better than last year's. Deeper than last year's, I'll give it that. Better than last year's, no. I'm going to have a whole piece on this in the Sun-Times on Sunday. But I wanted to give a little sneak preview of it. If I had to reorder if both draft classes are combined, knowing what we know, and obviously the 26 class is the unknown, so we are going on that limb. This is what 1 through 5 would look like. We'll start at 5. I would go number 5, VJ Edgecombe, Philadelphia 76ers. I think he is the future two-way player for them. I think he's a future star, but I put him at number 5. Number 4, I think AJ DeBonsa is going to be really good. I think he's going to be a two-way player. I think he's going to go to the perfect situation where the pressure's kind of like VJ did. Embiid, when he played, you got Maxey. You got a couple other dudes. Paul George, when he's not suspended. There's not all the pressure. You don't have to go out and do what number 1 guy had to do. You can kind of go out, learn your game, be a piece, and then have your exploding moments. And I think AJ DeBonsa is going to have that opportunity with Trae Young, and then obviously with AD. They're going to be a fascinating team, and he's going to have nights where, if he's not playing well, his defense can make the difference, and he's got dudes around him that could help still carry them to wins. They're going to be fun to watch because I want to see how it works. Don't love the makeup of some of those guys, but I want to see how it works. So number 3, just because I think this guy is an assassin shooter, broke every rookie record for three-point shooting. Con Knipple, dude, he's changed Charlotte's kind of trajectory and where they're headed. I said last year at this time, I said he was going to be a top 5 pick. I had a feeling he'd be an elite player. He was my number 2 for a while, but this guy has impressed me because he's done it on a much, much higher scale. Dylan Harper, I mean, he's something. Shame on Rutgers. You had Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and you didn't make the NCAA tournament. I don't know if the Rutgers coach is still there, but fire him he should have been fired yesterday. Dylan Harper, defensively, size, the way he finishes at the rim, and there's still a lot of raw things going on. But he's a dude. He's a dude. I mean, I liked him coming out of college, but I was just like, okay, well, why couldn't they win more games? Guys like that always make me a little nervous. Ben Simmons, he couldn't get to the NCAA tournament. But that's just poor coaching. Number 1, no one in this class is Cooper Flagg. Okay. Matter of fact, if it wasn't for Wemby, I'd say in the last 10 years, just going back the last 10 years, nobody is Cooper Flagg. I sticking to the guns that Dallas is going to get a good player in this draft, a good piece, has a healthy front line coming back. Who knows what they do with Kyrie? I think it might not be next year, but the next 2 to 3 seasons, Dallas and San Antonio are going to go to war. And I think it's basically a battle of who's the face of the league, Wemby or Cooper Flagg. So, Yeah, and I'll have a full list in the Sun Times if you want to see that, see where some of the other 26 draft class guys go. But doesn't mean it's a bad draft class. It's a really good draft class. And you know what? It makes me think 25, 26, just looking at this list of names, shame on you, Arturas Karnisovas, for not having such a blind spot for talent that you didn't understand. You had back-to-back classes where you could have really cashed in on talent, but you wanted to stick to your guns and competitive integrity, and it got your ass fired. So shame on you for just not understanding your job and the job at hand. So we're getting close to the draft. There's going to be a coach signed by the Bulls or hired by the Bulls. It's all happening. We'll have it covered. Stay tuned. Until then, I got next.